Hello friends, today competitive Q&A channel is available now to share with you the next question paper and its answers, that is UPSC IAS Prelims CSAT GS paper 2 of 2019. So let's begin. First question: the number of times the digit 5 will appear while writing the integers from 1 to 1000 is A 269, B 271, C 300, D 302. And the answer is option C 300. Next question, second. A solid cube is painted yellow, blue and black such that opposite faces of the same color. The cube is then cut into 36 cubes of two different sizes such that 32 cubes are small and the other 4 cubes are big. None of the faces of the bigger cubes is painted blue. How many cubes have only one face painted? Now go over the options. A 4, B 6, C 8, D 10. And the answer is option C 8. After every question I will take pause for a few seconds so that if you, in case you want to go over the questions and answer again, you can go. Next question 3. A and B are two heavy steel blocks. If B is placed on a top of the weight increases by 60%. How much weight will reduce with respect to the total weight of A and B if B is removed from the top of A? Option A 60%, B 45.5%, C 40%, D 37.5%. So I will repeat the options once again. Option A 60%, B 45.5%, C 40%, and D 37.5%. And the answer is option A. Next question 4. Mr. X has 3 children. The birthday of the first child falls on the 5th Monday of April. That of the second one falls on the 5th Thursday of November. On which day is the birthday of this third child, which falls on 20th December? And the options are A Monday, B Thursday, C Saturday, D Sunday. And answer is option D Sunday. Next question 5. Consider the following statements and conclusions. Statements. First statement: some rats are cats. Second, some cats are dogs. 3. No dog is a cow. Conclusion: no cow is a cat, no dog is a rat, some cats are rats. Which of the above conclusions are drawn from the statements? The options are A first, second and third, B only first and second, C only third, D only second and third. And the answer is option C only third. Some cats are rats. Same, you can relate it with the first statements. Some rats are cats. Next question. The number of question 6. The number of parallelograms that can be formed from a set of four parallel lines intersecting another set of four parallel lines is A 18, B 24, C 32, D 36. And the answer is option D 36. Next question 7. In a school, every student is assigned a unique identification number. A student is a football player if and only if the identification number is divisible by 4. Whereas a student is a cricketer if and only if the identification number is divisible by 6. If every number from 1 to 100 is assigned to a student, then how many of them play cricket as well as football? Option A 4, B 8, C 10, D 12. And the answer is option B 8. Next question 8. When a runner was crossing the 12-kilometer mark, she was informed that she had completed only 80% of race. How many kilometers was the runner supposed to run in this event? Option A 14, B 15, C 16, D 16.5. And the answer is option B 15. Next question 9. Raju has rupees 9,000 with him and he wants to buy a mobile handset, but he finds that he has only 75% of the amount required to buy the handset. Therefore, he borrows 2,000 from a friend. Then option A, Raju still does not have enough amount to buy the handset. B, Raju has exactly the same amount as required to buy the handset. Option C, Raju has enough amount to buy the handset and he will have 500 with him after buying the handset. Option D, Raju has enough amount to buy the handset and he will have 1,000 with him after buying the handset. And the answer is option A. And the answer is option A. Raju still does not have enough amount to buy the handset. Next question 10. In 2002, Meenu's age was one third of the age of Meera, whereas in 2010, Meenu's age was half the age of Meera. What is Meenu's year of birth? Option A 1992, B 1994, C 1996, D 1998. And the answer is option A 1992. Next question 11. Rakesh and Rajesh together bought 10 balls and 10 rackets. Rakesh spent 1,300 and Rajesh spent 1,500. If each racket costs 3 times a ball does, then what is the price of a racket? Option A rupees 70, B 90 rupees, C 210 rupees, D 240 rupees. And the answer is option C 210 rupees. Next question 12. In a conference, out of a total 100 participants, 70 are Indians. If 60 of the total participants are vegetarian, then which of the following statements is oblique are correct. First, at least 30 Indian participants were vegetarian. Second, at least 10 Indian participants are non-vegetarian. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Option A, first only. B, second only. C, both 1 and 2. D, neither 1 nor 2. And the answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Next question. Read the following 6 passages and answer the items that follow each passage. Your answers to these items should be based on the passage only. Passage 1. What stands in the way of the widespread and careful adoption of genetic modification (GM) technology in an intellectual property rights regime that seeks to create private monopolies for such technologies? If generic modification (GM) technology is largely corporate driven, it seeks to maximize profits, and that too in the short run. That is why coordinations make major investments for herbicide tolerant and pest resistant crops. Such properties have only a short window. As soon enough, pests and weeds will evolve to overcome such resistance. This suits the corporations. The National Farmers Commission pointed out that the priority must be given in genetic modification to the incorporation of genes that can help impart resistance to drought, salinity, and other stress. Now the question 13. Which one of the following is the most logical, rational, and crucial message conveyed by the above passage? Option A. Public research institutions should take the lead in GM technology and prioritize the technology agenda. B. Developing countries should raise this issue in WTO and ensure the abolition of intellectual property rights. Option C. Private corporations should not be allowed to do agribusiness in India, particularly in the seed business. D. Present Indian circumstances do not favor the cultivation of genetically modified crops. And the answer is option A. Public research institutions should take the lead in GM technology and prioritize the technology agenda. So the next question 14 is based on the same passage. Now I will go over the question. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, the issue of effects of natural calamities on agriculture is not given due consideration by GM technology companies. Second, in the long run, GM technology will not be able to solve agricultural problems arising due to global warming. Which of the above assumptions are valid? A. First only. B. Second only. C. Both first and second. And D. Neither one nor two. I will take you back on the passage so that you can take a look once again to decide on your answer. I will take a pause for a few seconds so that you can go over the passage. Hopefully you have gone through the passage, and the answer is option A, first only. And the option A is first only. The issue of effects of natural calamities on agriculture is not given due consideration by GM technology companies. So the next passage number 2, and it's most invasive species are neither terribly successful nor very harmful. Britain's invasive plants are not widespread, not spreading especially quickly, and often less of a nuisance than vigorous natives such as bracken. The arrival of new species almost always increases biological diversity in a region. In many cases, a food of newcomers drives no native species to extinction. One reason is that invaders tend to colonize disturbed habitats like polluted lakes and post-industrial wasteland where little else lives. They are nature's opportunists. And the question is, which one of the following is the most logical and rational inference that can be made from the above passage? Option A, invasive species should be used to inhabit desert areas and wastelands of a country. B, laws against the introduction of foreign plants are unnecessary. Option C, sometimes the campaigns against foreign plants are pointless. Option D, foreign plants should be used to increase the biodiversity of a country. And the answer is option A. Invasive species should be used to inhabit desert areas and wastelands of a country. Next passage 3. Diarrheal deaths among Indian children are mostly due to food and water contamination, use of contaminated groundwater and unsafe chemicals in agriculture, poor hygiene in storage and handling of food items to food cooked and distributed in unhygienic surroundings. There are myriad factors that need regulations and monitoring. People need to have awareness of adulteration and ways of complaining to the relevant authorities. Surveillance of foodborne diseases involves a number of government agencies and entails good training of inspection staff. Consideration the proportion of the urban population that depends on street food for its daily meals. Investing in training and education of street vendors is of great significance. And the question 16, on the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, food safety is a complex issue and that calls for a multi-pronged solution. Second, great investments need to be made in developing the manpower for surveillance and training. 3. India needs to make sufficient legislation of governing food processing industry. Which of the above assumptions is are valid? Option A, first and second only. Option B, third only. Option C, first and third only. And the option D, first, second and third. And the answer is option A, first and second only. So the passage 4, the interests of working and poor people have historically been neglected in the planning of our cities. Our cities are increasingly intolerant, unsafe, and unlivable places for large number of citizens, and yet we continue to plan via the old ways. The static development plan that draws exclusively from technical expertise, distanced from people's live experiences and needs, and actively excluding large number of people, places, activities, and practices that are an integral part of the city. So in the question 17, the passage seems to argue option A against the monopoly of builders and the interest of elite groups, B against the need for global and smart cities, C in favor of planning cities mainly for working classes and poor people, option D in favor of participation of people's groups in city planning. And the answer is option D in favor of participation of people groups in city planning. Next, passage 5. A vast majority of Indians are poor, with barely 10% employed in the organized sector. We are being convinced that vigorous economic growth is generating substantial employment, but this is not so. When our economy was growing at 3% per year, employment in the organized sector was growing at 2% per year. As the economy began to grow at 7 to 8% per year, the rate of growth of employment in the organized sector actually declined to 1% per year. Question 18. The above passage seems to imply that first statement, most of modern economic growth is based on technological progress. Second, much of modern Indian economy does not nurture sufficient symbiotic relationship with labor-intensive, natural resource-based livelihoods. 3. Service sector in India is not very labor-intensive. 4. Literate rural population is not willing to enter organized sector. Which of the statements given above are correct? Option A, first and second only, B, third and fourth only, C, first, second and third only, D, first, second, third and fourth. And the answer is option A. Next, passage 6. India has banking correspondents who help bring people in the hinterland into the banking fold. For them to succeed, banks cannot crimp on costs. They also cannot afford to ignore investing in financial education and literacy. Banking correspondents are way too small to be viewed as a systematic risk. Yet, India's banking regulator has restricted them to serving only one bank, perhaps to prevent arbitrage. Efforts at banking outreach may succeed only if there are better incentives at work for such last mile workers and also those providers who ensure not just basic bank accounts but also products such as accident and life insurance and micro pension schemes. Question 19. Which one of the following is the most logical, rational and crucial inference that can be derived from the above passage? Option A. Efforts to bring people in India's hinterland to the banking systems are not successful. B. For meaningful financial inclusion, India's banking system needs more number of banking correspondents and such other such last mile workers. C. Meaningful financial inclusion in India requires that banking correspondents have diverse skills. Better banking Option D. Better banking outreach would be impossible uh, unless each banking correspondent is allowed to serve a number of banks. Answer is option B. For meaningful financial inclusion, India's banking system needs more number of banking correspondents and other such last mile workers. Next question 20. A 5-storied building with floors from 1st to 5th is painted using 4 different colors and only one color is used to paint a floor. Consider the following statements. First, the middle 3 floors are painted in different colors. Second, the second and fourth floors are painted in different colors. Third option, the first and fifth floors are painted red. To ensure that any 2 consecutive floors have different colors, option A, only statement 2 is sufficient. B, only statement 3 is sufficient. C, statement 1 is not sufficient but statement 1 along with statement 2 is sufficient. Option D, statement 3 is not sufficient but statement 3 along with statement 2 is sufficient. And the answer is option B, only statement 3 is sufficient. And the statement 3 is first and fifth floors are painted red. Next question 21. P, Q and R are 3 towns. The distance between P and Q is 60 km, whereas the distance between P and R is 80 km. Q is in the west and P and R in the south of P. What is the distance between Q and R? Option A, 140 km, B, 130 km, C, 10 km, D, 100 km. And the answer is option D, 100 km. Next question 22. All members of a club went to Mumbai and stayed in a hotel. On the first day, 80% went for shopping and 50% went for sightseeing, whereas 10% took a rest in the hotel. Which of the following conclusions can be drawn from the above data? First statement, 40% members went for shopping as well as sightseeing. Second statement, 20% members went for only shopping. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Option A, first only. B, second only. C, both first and second. D, neither one nor two. And the answer is option D, neither one nor two. Next question 23. In a school, 60% students play cricket. A student who does not play cricket plays football. Every football player has got a two-wheeler. Which of the following conclusions cannot be drawn from the above data? First statement, 60% of the students do not have two-wheelers. Second statement, no cricketer has a two-wheeler. Third statement, cricket players do not play football. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A, first and second only. B, second and third only. C, first and third only. D, first, second and third. And the answer is option A, first and second only. That means first statement, 60% of the students do not have two-wheelers, and second statement, no cricketer has a two-wheeler. Both of these statements are true. Next question 24. The ratio of a two-digit natural number of a number formed by reversing its digits is 4, 7. The number of such pairs is option A, 5, B 4, C 3, D 2. And the answer is option C 3. Next question 25. In an examination, A has scored 20 marks more than B. If B has scored 5% less marks than A, how much has B scored? A 360, B 380, C 400, D 420. And the answer is option B 380. Next question 26. Sita and Geeta go for a swim after a gap of every 2 days and every 3 days respectively. If on 1st January both of them went for a swim together, when will they go together next? Option A 7th January, 8th January, C 12th January, D 13th January. And the answer is option A 7th January. 7th January. Next question 27. X, Y and Z are 3 contestants in a race of 1000 meter. Assume that all run with different uniform speeds. X gives Y a start of 40 meter and X gives Z a start of 64 meter. If Y and Z were to compete in a race of 1000 meter, how many meters start with Y give to Z? A 20, B 25, C 30, D 35. And the answer is option B 25. Next question 28. If X is greater than or equal to 25 and Y is less than or equal to 40, then which one of the following is always correct? Option A, X is greater than Y. B, Y minus X is greater than 15. C, Y minus X is less than or equal to 15. D, X minus Y is greater than or equal to 65. And the answer is option C, Y minus X is less than or equal to 15. Next question 29. Anna was born 4 years after her parents' marriage. Her mother is 3 years younger than her father and 24-year older than Anna, who is 13-year-old. At what age did Anna's father get married? A 22 years, B 23 years, C 24 years, D 25 years. And answer is option B 23 years. Next question 30. Rakesh had money to buy 8 mobile handsets of a specific company, but the retailer offered very good discount on that particular handset. Rakesh could buy 10 mobile handsets with the amount he had. What was the discount the retailer offered? Option A 15%, B 20%, C 25%, D 30%. And the answer is option B 20%. Next question 31. The average marks of 100 students are given to be 40. It was found later that the marks of one student were 53. which were misread as 83. The corrected mean marks are A 39, B 39.7, C 40, D 40.3. And the answer is option B 39.7. Next, the directions for the following 8 items. Read the following 6 passages and answer the items that follow each passage. Your answers to these items should be based on the passage only. Passage 1. Low-end IoT Internet of Things devices are cheap commodity items. Addressing security would add to the cost. This class of items is proliferating and with new applications. Many home appliances, thermostats, security and monitoring devices, and personal convenience devices are part of the IoT. So are fitness trackers, certain medical implants, and computer-like devices in automobiles. The IoT is expected to expand exponentially, but new security challenges are daunting. Question 32. Which one of the following statements is the most logical and rational inference that can be made from the above passage? A. Development of enabling technologies in India can be a big boost to its manufacturing sector. B. India is not yet fully ready to adopt IoT in view of the imminent security challenges. C. Life becomes more comfortable with the development of cheap low-end IoT devices. D. As we go digital, we must recognize the huge threat to internet security from some IoT devices. And the answer is option D. As we go digital, we must recognize the huge threat to internet security from some IoT devices. Next passage 2. With the digital phenomenon restructuring most social sectors, it is little surprise that global trade negotiations are now eyeing the digital area in an attempt to preemptively colonize it. Big data is freely collected or mined from developing countries and converted into digital intelligence in developed countries. This intelligence begins to control different sectors and extract monopoly rents. A large foreign company providing cab service, for instance, is not a work of cars and drivers. It is digital intelligence about commuting, public transport, roads, traffic, city events, personal behavioral characteristics of commuters and driver, and so on. 33. Question. Which one of the following is the most logical and rational corollary to the above passage? A. Globalization is not in the interest of India as it undermines its socio-economic structures. B. India should be careful to protect its digital sovereignty in global trade talks. C. India should charge monopoly rents from multinational companies in exchange for big data. D. The loss of big data from India is proportional to the degree oblique value of its foreign trade. And the answer is option B. India should be careful to protect its digital sovereignty in global trade talks. Next question 34. Which of the following is most definitively implied by the above passage? We are talking about the last passage which we just gone through. Option A, 7 big data is the key source in the digital space. B, big economies create big data. C, access to big data in the prerogative of developed countries. Option D, access to and possessions of big data is a characteristic of developed countries. Answer is option A, 7 big data is the key resource in the digital space. I will pause for few seconds so that and will take the slide back so that you can go over the passage. Passage 3. The rural poor across the world, including India, have contributed little to human-induced climate change, yet they are on the front line in coping with its effects. Farmers can no longer rely on historical averages for rainfall and temperature, and the more frequent and extreme weather events such as droughts and floods can spell disaster. And there are new threats such as sea level rise and the impact of melting glaciers on water supply. How significant are small farms? As many as 2 billion people worldwide demand on them, so their food and livelihood. Smallholder farmers in India produce 41% of the country's food grains and other food items that contribute to local and national food security. Question 35. What is the most logical rational query to the above passage? Statement A. Supporting small farmers in an important part of any agenda regarding environmentally sustainable development. B. Poor countries have little role to play in the mitigation of global warming. C. Due to a large number of farmer households, India will not have food security problems in the foreseeable future. D. Only smallholder farmers in India can ensure food security. And the answer is option A. Next question, 36. The above passage implies that first statement, there is a potential problem of food insecurity in India. Second, India will have to strengthen its disaster management capabilities. Which of the above assumptions are valid? Option A, first only. B, second only. C, both first and second. D, neither one nor two. And the answer is option C, both first and second. Next, passage 4. A changing climate and the eventual efforts of governments, however reluctant to deal with it, could have a big impact on investors' returns. Companies that produce or use large amounts of fossil fuels face higher taxes and regulatory burdens. Some energy producers may find it impossible to exploit their own reserves and be left with stranded assets, deposits of oil and coal that have to be left in the ground. Other industries could be affected by the economic damage caused by more extreme weather, storms, floods, heat waves, and droughts. So, question 37. On the basis of above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First statement, governments and companies need to be adequately prepared to face the climate change. Second, extreme weather events will reduce the economic growth of governments and companies in future. Third statement, ignoring climate change is a huge risk for investors. Which of the above assumptions is oblique or curve valid? Option A, 1 and 2 only. Option B, third only. C, first and third only. D, first, second and third. And the answer is option C, first and third only. Next, passage 5. Access to schooling for those coming of school age is close to universal, but access to quality exhibits a sharp gradient with socio-economic status. Quotas for the weaker section in private schools is a provision introduced by the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. The quotas have imposed a debate on issues of social integration and equity in education that private sectors had escaped by and large. The idea of egalitarian education system with equality of opportunity as its primary goal appears to be outside the space that private school principles inhabit. Therefore, the imposition of the quotas has led to resistance, sometimes justified. Question 38. With reference to the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, making equality of opportunity a reality is the fundamental goal of the Indian education system. Second statement, the present Indian school system is unable to provide egalitarian education. Third statement, abolition of private schools and establishment of more government schools is the only way to ensure egalitarian education. Which of the above assumptions is oblique or valid? Option A, first and second only. B, second only. C, second and third only. D, third only. And the answer is option A, first and second only. Passage 6. A majority of the TB infected in India are poor and lack sufficient nutrition, suitable housing, and have little understanding of prevention. TB then devastates families, makes the poor poorer, particularly affects women and children, and leads to ostracis, ostracization and loss of employment. The truth is that even if TB does not kill them, hunger and poverty will. Another truth is that deep-seated stigma, lack of counseling, expensive treatment, and lack of adequate support from providers and family, coupled with the tortures, side effects, demotivate patients to continue treatment with disastrous health consequences. Question 39. Which one of the following is the most logical, rational, and crucial message conveyed by the above passage? A. TB is not a curable disease in Indian circumstances. B. Curing TB requires more than diagnosis and medical treatment. C. Government surveillance mechanism is deficient and poor people have no access to treatment. Option D. India will be free from diseases like TB only when its poverty alleviation programs are effectively and successfully implemented. And the answer is option B. Curing TB requires more than diagnosis and medical treatment. Question 40. If every alternative letter of the English alphabet from B onwards, including B, is written in lowercase, smaller letters, and the remaining letters are capitalized, then how is the first month of the second half of the year written? You can go over the options. How July is written in different small and capital alphabets. Option A, B, C, D. You can take a look, because reading all the options will be only July, so you will have to see that. The answer is option D, small j, capital U, small l, capital Y. Next question 41. Sunita cuts a sheet of paper into 3 pieces. Length of first piece is equal to the average of the 3 single digit odd prime numbers. Length of the second piece is equal to that of the first plus 1/3 the length of the third. The third piece is as long as the 2 other pieces together. The length of the original sheet of paper is A 13 unit, B 15 units, C 16 units, D 30 units. And the answer is option D, 30 units. Next question 42. In the sequence 1 5 7 3 5 7 4 3 5 7, how many such 5s are there in which are there which are not implementally preceded by 3 but are immediately followed by 7? Option A 1, B 2, C 3, D none. Answer is option A 1. Next question 43. A joint family consists of 7 members A, B, C, D, E, F, and G with 3 females. G is a widow and sister-in-law of D's father. F, B, and D are siblings, and A is daughter of B. C is cousin of B. Who is E? First, wife of F. Second, grandmother of A. Third, aunt of C. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Option A, first and second only. B, second and third only. C, first and third only. D, first, second, and third. And the answer is option D, first, second, and third. That means all the statements are true. E is the wife of F and the grandmother of A and the aunt of C. Next question 44. Each face of a cube can be painted in black or white colors. In how many different ways can the cube be painted? Option A, 9, B, 10, C, 11, D, 12. And the answer is option D, 12. Next question 45. How many triplets XYZ satisfy the equation x plus y plus z equal to 6, where x, y, and z are natural numbers? Option A, 4, B, 5, C, 9, D, 10. And the answer is option D, 10. If dollar means divided by, @ means multiplied by, hash means minus, then the value of 10 hash 5 @1 $5 is option A, 0, B, 1, C, 2, D, 9. And the answer is option D, 9. Next question 47. A 8-digit number 4252746B leaves remainder 0 when divided by 3. How many values of B are possible? Option A 2, B 3, C 4, D 6. And the answer is option C 4. Next, directions for the following 3 items. Read the following information and answer the 3 items that follow. 6 students A, B, C, D, E and F appears in several tests. Either C or F scores the highest. Whenever C scores the highest, then E scores the least. Whenever F scores the highest, B scores the least. In all the tests, they got different marks. D scores higher than A, but they are close competitors. A scores higher than B, C scores higher than A. If F stands second in the ranking, then the position of B is A third, B fourth, C fifth, D sixth. The answer is option C, fifth. Next question 49. It's on the basis of same passage which we read in the question 48. If B scores the least, then rank of C will be option A second, B third, C fourth, D second or third. And the answer is option B, third. Next question 50. This is also based on the same 48 number questions passage. If E is ranked third, then which one of the following is correct? Option A, E gets more marks than C. Option B, C gets more marks than E. Option C, A is ranked fourth. Option D, D is ranked fifth. And the answer is option B, C gets more marks than E? Next question. Directions for the following two items. Read the following statements S1 and S2 and answer the two items that follow. S1. Twice the weight of Sohan is less than the weight of Mohan or that of Rohan. S2. Twice the weight of Rohan is greater than the weight of Mohan or that of Sohan. Question 51. Which one of the following statements is correct? Option A. Weight of Mohan is greatest. B. Weight of Sohan is greatest. C. Weight of Rohan is greatest. Option D. Whose weight is greatest cannot be determined. And the answer is option D. Whose weight is greatest cannot be determined. Next question 52 is on the basis of the same passage which we gone through in question 51. Which one of the following statements is correct? Option A. Weight of Mohan is less. B. Weight of Sohan is less. C. Weight of Rohan is least. Option D. Whose weight is least cannot be determined. And the answer is option B. Weight of Sohan is least. Next, directions for the next 7 questions. Read the following 5 passages and answer the items that follow each passage. Your answers to these items should be based on the passages only. Passage 1. India's economic footprint, given its population, still remains small compared to the US, the European Union, or China. It has much to learn from other economies, yet must implement solutions that fit its unique circumstances. India especially needs an effective long-term regulatory system based on collaboration rather than the current top-down approach. Regulations seek desirable outcomes yet are repeatedly used as political tools to push one agenda or another. Often, regulations fails to consider impacts on jobs and economic growth, or less restrictive alternatives. Regulations may be used to protect local markets at the expense of more widely shared prosperity in the future. Additionally, Regulations inevitably result in numerous unintended consequences. In today's hyper competitive global economy, regulations need to be viewed as weapons that seek cost justified social and environmental benefits while improving the economic well being of most citizens. So the question 53: which one of the following is the most logical, rational, and crucial inference that can be derived from the above passage? Option A: a better regulatory system will help India achieve the size of economic appropriate to its population. B: in a competitive global economy, India must use regulations strategically. Option C: regulations in India do not favor its integration with today's hyper competitive global economy. Option D: job creation and economic growth should be dominant considerations in developing India's regulatory system. And the answer is option A: a better regulatory system will help India achieve the size of economy appropriate to its population. Next question 54. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. In today's global economy, question first: regulations are not effectively used to protect local markets. Second: social and environmental concerns are generally ignored by the governments across the world while implementing the regulations. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A: first only. B: second only. Option C: both first and second. Option D: neither one nor two. And the answer is option C: both 1 and 2. Now the passage 2. In a study, scientists compared the microbiomes of poorly nourished and well-nourished infants and young children. Gut microbes were isolated from fecal samples of malnourished, and healthy children. The microbiomes was immature and less diverse in malnourished children compared to the better developed mature microbiomes found in healthy children of the same age. According to some studies, the chemical composition of mother's milk has shown the presence of a modified sugar. This is not utilized by the baby for its own nutrition. However, the bacteria constituting the infant's microbiomes thrive on this sugar, which serves as their food. Malnourished mothers have low levels of this sugar in their milk. Consequently, the microbiomes of their infants fail to mature. that in turn leads to malnourished babies. Question 55. Which one of the following is the most logical, rational, and crucial inference that can be derived from the above passage? Option A. The malnourished condition in children is caused by a gut bacteria. It cannot be treated. B. Guts of malnourished babies should be inoculated with mature microbiomes. C. Babies of malnourished mothers should be fed with dairy milk fortified with cellulated oligosaccharides. Sorry, it's a little bit difficult to pronounce. Instead of mother's milk. Option D. Research on being effects of gut bacteria on nutrition has policy implications, and the answer is option C. Next question 56. On the basis of above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First is statement: processed probiotic foods are the solution to treat the children suffering from malnutrition due to immature gut bacteria composition. 2. The babies of malnourished mothers generally tend to be malnourished. Which of the above assumptions are valid? Option A, first only; B, second only; C, both first and second; D, neither one nor two. And the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Next, passage 3. Temperatures have risen nearly 5 times as rapidly on the western Antarctic peninsula than the global average over the past 5 decades. Researchers have now found that melting glaciers are causing a loss of species diversity among benthos in the coastal waters of the Antarctic peninsula, impacting an entire seafloor ecosystem. They believe increased levels of suspended sediment in water to be the cause of the dwindling biodiversity in the coastal region. Question 57. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, regions of glaciers warm faster than other regions due to global warming. Second, global warming can lead to sea floor sedimentation in some areas. Option 3. Melting glaciers can reduce marine biodiversity in some areas. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A, first and second only; B, third only; C, second and third only; D, first, second and third. And the answer is option D, first, second and third. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Next, passage 4. A research team examined a long-term owl roost. Owls prey on small mammals, and the excreted remains of those meals that accumulated over the time provides us an insight into the composition and structure of small mammals over the past millennia. The research suggested that when the Earth went through a period of rapid warming about 13,000 years ago, a small mammal community was stable and resilient. But from the last quarter of the 19th century, human-made changes to the environment had caused an enormous drop in biomass and energy flow. This dramatic decline in energy flow means modern ecosystems are not adapting as easily as they did in the past. Question 58. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, global warming is a frequently occurring natural phenomenon. Second, the impending global warming will not adversely affect small mammals. Third, humans are responsible for the loss of the Earth's natural resilience. Which of the above assumptions is or correct? A. First and second only. B. Third only. C. Second and third only. D. First, second and third. Answer is option B. Third only. That means humans are responsible for the loss of the Earth's natural resilience. Next, passage 5. Food varieties extinction is happening all over the world, and it is happening fast. For example, of the 7,000 apple varieties that were grown during the 19th century, fewer than of 100 remain. In the Philippines, thousands of varieties of rice once thrived. Now only up to 100 are grown there. In China, 90% of the wheat varieties cultivated just a century ago have disappeared. Farmers in the past painstakingly bred and developed crops well suited for the peculiarity, peculiarities of their local climate and environment. In the recent past, our heavy dependence on a few high-yielding varieties of technology-driven production and distribution of food is causing the dwindling of diversity in food crops. If some mutating crop disease or future climate change decimates the few crops plants we have come to depend on to feed our growing population, we might desperately need some of those varieties we have let go extinct. Question 59. On the basis of above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, humans have been the main reason for the large-scale extinction of plant species. Second, consumption of food mainly from locally cultivated crops ensures crop diversity. Third, the present style of production and distribution of food will finally lead to the problem of food scarcity in the near future. Statement 4. Our food security may depend on our ability of preserve the locally cultivated varieties of crops. Which of the above assumptions are valid? Option A, first and third. B second and fourth, C second and third, D first and fourth. And the answer is option D, first and fourth. Next question, question 60. What is x in the sequence? 132, 129, 124, 117, 106, 93, x. What is x in this sequence? Option A 74, B 75, C 76, D 77. And the answer is option C 76. Next question 61. A wall clock moves 10 minutes fast in every 24 hours. The clock was set to show the correct time at 8 a.m. on Monday. When the clock shows the time 6 p.m. on Wednesday, what is the correct time? A 5:36 p.m., B 5:30 p.m., C 5:24 p.m., D 5:18 p.m. And the answer is option D 5:18. Sorry, answer is option A 5:36 p.m. Next question 62. If the numerator and denominator of a proper fraction are increased by the same positive quantity which is greater than 0, the resulting fraction is A. Always less than the original fraction, B. Always greater than the original fraction, C. Always equal to the following fraction, D. Such that nothing can be claimed definitely. And the answer is option A, always less than the original fraction. Next question 63. What is x in the sequence? The sequence is 4, 196, 16, 144, 36, 100, 64, X. What is X in the sequence? A. 48, B. 64, C. 125, D. 256. And the answer is option B, 64. Question 64. In a group of 15 people, 7 can read French, 8 can read English, while 3 of them can read neither of these two languages. The number of people who can read exactly one language is option A 10, B 9, C 5, D 4. And the answer is option D 9. Next question 65. A printer numbers the pages. A printer numbers the pages of a book starting with 1 and uses 3089 digits in all. How many pages does the book have? Option A 1040, B 1048, C 1049, option D 1050. And the answer is option D 1050. Next question 66. Consider the following sequence that follows some arrangement. C and then space A C C A space A space B C space B. The letters that appears in the gaps are A B B A C, and the next option B is C B B B, option C B B B B, option D C C C C. The answer is option B C B B B. Next question 67. A family has 2 children along with their parents. The average of the weights of the children and their mother is 50 kg. The average of the weights of the children and their father is 52 kg. If the weight of the father is 60 kg, then what is the weight of the mother? Option A 48 kg, B 50 kg, C 52 kg, D 54 kg. And the answer is option D 54 kg. Next question 68. Suppose you have insufficient amount of rupee currency in three denominations: rupees 1, rupees 10 and rupees 50. In how many different ways can you pay a bill of rupees 107? Option A 16, B 17, C 18, D 19. And the answer is option A 16. Next question 69. A started from his house and walked 20 meters towards east, where his friend 13 joined him. They together walked 10 meters in the same direction. Then A turned left while B turned right and traveled 2 meters and 8 meters respectively. Again B turned left to travel 4 meters followed by 5 meters to his right to reach his office. A turned right and traveled 12 meters to reach his office. What is the shortest distance between the two offices? A 15 meter, B 17 meter, C 19 meter, D 20 meter. And the answer is option B 17 meter. Next question 70. Consider two statements S1 and S2 followed by a question. S1 P and Q both are prime numbers. S2 P plus Q is an odd integer. Question: is PQ an odd integer? Which one of the following is correct? A. S1 alone is sufficient to answer the question. B. S2 alone is sufficient to answer the question. C. Both S1 and S2 taken together are not sufficient to answer the question. Option D. Both S1 and S2 are necessary to answer the question. The answer is option D. Both S1 and S2 are necessary to answer the question. Next question 71. Which year has the same calendar as that of 2009? Option A 2018, B 2017, C 2016, D 2015. And the answer is option D 2015. Next question 72. Number 136 is added to 5b7 and the sum obtained is 7a3, where a and b are integers. It is given that 7a3 is exactly divisible by 3. The only possible value of b is option A 2, option B 5, option C 7, option D 8, and the answer is option D 8. Next, directions for the following 8 items. Read the following 7 passages and answer the items that follow each passage. Your answer to these items should be based on the passages only. Passage 1. Political theorists no doubt have to take history of injustice, for example, untouchability, seriously. The concept of historical injustice takes note of a variety of historical wrongs that continue into the present in some form or the other and tend to resist repair. Two reasons might account for resistance to repair. One, not only are the roots of injustice buried deep in history, injustice itself constitutes economic structures of exploitation, ideologies of discrimination, and modes of representation. 2. The category of historical injustice generally extends across a number of wrongs such as economic deprivation, social discrimination, and lack of recognition. This category is complex not only because of the overlap between a number of wrongs, but because one or the other wrong, generally discrimination, tends to acquire partial autonomy for others. This is borne out by the history of repair in India. Question 73. What is the main idea that we can infer from the passage? Option A. Untouchability in India has not been taken seriously by political theorists. Option B. Historical injustice is inevitable in any society and is always beyond repair. Option C. Social discrimination and deprivation have their roots in bad economies. Option D. It is difficult, if not possible, to repair every manifestation of historical injustice. And the answer is option D. Next question 74. On the basis of above passage, the following assumptions have been made. If first, removal of economic discrimination leads to removal of social discrimination. Second, democratic polity is the best way to repair historical wrongs. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A, first only. B, second only. C, both first and second. D, neither one nor two. And the answer is option D, neither one nor two. Next, passage 2. Education plays a great transformatory role in life, particularly so in this rapidly changing and globalizing world. Universities are the custodians of the intellectual capital and promoters of culture and specialized knowledge. Culture is an activity of tough and receptivance to beauty and human feelings. A merely well informed man is only a bore or on God's earth. What we should aim at is producing men who possesses both culture and expert knowledge. Their expert knowledge will give them a firm ground to start from, and their culture will lead them as deep as philosophy, as high as art. Together, it will impart meaning to human existence. Question 75. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, society without well educated people cannot be transformed into a modern society. Second, without acquiring culture, a person's education is not complete. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A, first only. B, second only. C, both first and second. D, neither one nor two. And the answer is option D, neither one nor two. None of the statements are valid. Next, passage 5. Soil, in which nearly all our food grows, is a living resource that takes years to form, yet it can vanish in minutes. Each year, 75 billion tons of fertile soil is lost to erosion. That is alarming. And not just for food producers, soil can trap huge quantities of carbon dioxide in the form of organic carbon and prevent it from escaping into the atmosphere. Question 76. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, large scale soil erosion is a major reason for widespread food insecurity in the world. So, second, soil erosion is mainly anthropogenic. Third, sustainable management of soils helps in combating climate change. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A, first and second only. Option B, third only. Option C, second and third only. Option D, first, second, and third. And the answer is option D, first, second, and third. All three statements are valid. Next passage 4. Inequality is visible, even statistically measurable in many instances, but the economic power that drives it is invisible and not measurable. Like the force of gravity, power is the organizing principle of inequality, be it of income or wealth, gender, race, religion, and region. Its effects are seen in a pervasive manner in all spheres, but the ways in which economic power pulls and tilts visible economic variables remain invisibly obscure. Question 77. On the basis of the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. Statement 1. Economic power is the only reason for the existence of inequality in a society. Second, inequality of different kids, income, wealth, etc. Reinforces power. Third statement, economic power can be analyzed more through its effects than by direct empirical methods. Which of the above assumptions is oblique are valid? Option A, first and second only. B, third only. C, first and third only. D, first, second, and third. And the answer is option C, first and third. Next, passage 5. Climate change may actually benefit some plants by lengthening growing seasons and increasing carbon dioxide. Yet, other effects of a warmer world, such as more pests, droughts, and flooding, will be less begin. How will the world adapt? Researchers project that by 2050, suitable croplands for four commodities, maize, potatoes, rice, and wheat will shift, in some cases pushing farmers to plant new crops. Some farmlands may benefit from warming, but others won't. Climate alone does not dictate yields. Political shifts, global demand, and agricultural practices will influence how farms fare in the future. Question 78. Which one of the following is the most logical and rational inference that can be made from the above passage? Statement A, option A. Farmers who modernize their methods and diversify their fields will be in an advantageous position in future. Option B. Climate change will adversely affect the crop diversity. Option C. Shifting crops to new croplands will lead to a great increase in the total area under uh, cultivation and thus an increase in overall agricultural production. Option D. Climate change is the most important factor affecting the agricultural economy in the future. And the answer is option A. Farmers who modernize their methods and diversify their fields will be in an advantageous position in future. Next, passage 6. A bat's wings may look like sheets of skin, but underneath, a bat has the same 5 fingers as an orangutan or a human, as well as a wrist connected to the same cluster of wrist bones connected to the same long bones of the arm. What can be more curious than that the hand of a man formed from grasping, that of a mole for digging, the leg of the horse, the paddle of the porpoise, and the wing of the bat should all be constructed on the some pattern. Question 79. Which one of the following is the most logical, scientific, and rational inference that can be made from the above passage? Option A. Different species have similar structure of hands in an example of biodiversity. Option B. Limbs being used by different species of different kinds of work is an example of biodiversity. Option C. Man and the aforementioned animals having similar structure of limbs is an example of coincidence in evolution. Option D. Man and the aforementioned animals have a shared evolutionary history. And the answer is option D. Man and the aforementioned animals have a shared evolutionary history. Next, passage 7. Around 56 million years ago, the Atlantic Ocean had not fully opened, and animals, perhaps including our primate ancestors, could walk from Asia to North America through Europe and across Greenland. Earth was warmer than it is today, but as the Paleocene epoch gave way to Eocene, it was about to get much warmer still, rapidly and radically. The cause was a massive geologically sudden release of carbon. During this period called Paleocene, Eocene, thermal maximum for or PETM, the carbon injected into the atmosphere was roughly the amount that would be injected today if humans burned all the Earth's reserves of coal, oil, and natural gas. The PETM lasted for about 150,000 years until the excess carbon was reabsorbed. It brought on drought, floods, insect plagues, and a few extinction. Life on Earth survived. Indeed, it prospered, but it was drastically different. Question 80. Based on the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. Statement 1. Global warming has a bearing on the planet's biological evolution. Second statement. Separation of land masses causes the release of huge quantities of carbon into the atmosphere. Statement 3. Increased warming of Earth's atmosphere can change the composition of its flora and fauna. Statement 4. The present man-made global warming will finally lead to conditions similar to those which happened 56 million years ago. Which of the assumptions given above are valid? option A first and second, option B third and fourth, option C first and third, and option D second and fourth. And the answer is option C, first and third. Global warming has a bearing on the planet's biological evolution. And another right answer is third. Increased warming of Earth's atmosphere can change the composition of its flora and fauna. So this is it for this video. Hopefully this will help you in your preparation. So feel free to write in the comment box if you need any question answer for any competitive exams, and sure, do let me know. And last but not the least, please like, share and subscribe this video. We'll meet you in the next video with another set of questions and answer. Thank you.